I want you to think about a time in your life, your work career, where you may have made a mistake. Now, some of you have made mistakes that were easily fixed, so no big deal. But some of you were made mistakes that haunted you for the rest of your career. Think about this. You are a payroll clerk at a large multinational or multi-state company. You process the corporate payroll. One day, you make a mistake. You forgot to terminate your portion out of the payroll system of an executive. You're the one that caught the mistake. So what do? Now, some of you may say that I would tell my boss immediately. Some of you might hide it, right? But in these instances, it's best to be honest. So you go and you tell your boss after 3 months that this mistake's been on the payroll. And let's keep in mind, this is an executive employee. We'll say they make about $10,000 a month. So at this point, you've overpaid someone who's no longer on the payroll $30,000. They still receive the direct deposits, and no, the employee did not call and let you know. You found the mistake. Now you have a $30,000 mistake on your hand. What do you think should happen to you? Some of you would say fired, written up. I've made that mistake before. It's not the reason I do this, but it tarnished my ability to do my job. After making a $30,000 mistake for the company, now we've cost the company not only the $30,000, but the time they had to pay me to recoup those funds, taxes, benefits, vacation earned. At the time, we had a policy where the vacation that you earned, you had to be paid out. He still earned vacation. Or my manager's time spent. So maybe by the time it's all done, maybe what was a $30,000 mistake cost the company $50,000. I was not terminated. However, I was demoted. Think about mistakes. And that's what records management is all about. It's about the mistakes that we could make that could cost the company a lot of money. Now, I know many of you may have small businesses under 50 employees, and first thing you want to think, this does not apply to me. It does apply to you. When they wrote the law, I promise you, they did not say small businesses, companies under 50 don't apply. Records management laws or records retention laws applies to each and every one of you. It does not matter if you are a minority-owned firm, a family-run firm. It does not make a difference. Does it matter if you only have a staff of 3 people? If you have records and you're still operating a company in this country, you have to follow the law. So today we're going to talk about all those things, plus we're going to define what the records are, how to organize those records, how to get in compliance with those laws, how to keep those records secure so you don't face lawsuits, how to properly dispose of them, because I've got some stories that you will not believe, and of course finally a business continuity plan. That's how to keep the business running after disaster strikes or crisis hit. Do we have any questions about what we're going to talk about today? So it is my opportunity today to share with you all the knowledge that I've gained from my experience in teaching this course and of course living it, but also the tools that I use and I suggest so many others to use that will make this system good for you. You can really make it work. So are you open today to hearing about everything I know? Good. Wonderful. So what I'd like you to do is start taking notes, because we're going to have a great fast-paced day where you have to take a lot of notes. First up, defining those records. First I want to tell you about the definition of records. Record is simply this. It's a data. It's a piece of information that you can store anywhere. virtually anywhere. We have data up here, right? Yeah. Fortunately for us, we don't all keep our data up here, but some of us do and some of us don't. Some of us got bad habits, right? So, when it comes to data, you have different mediums, and the medium is what we refer to as the piece of paper, your jump drive, your hard drive, your email inbox. All of those are mediums to which we store data. Once we store that data, it then becomes a record. A record is simply evidence that this information exists. The information on that record is a fact or an event confirming this actually took place. So now we know, with all of this said, that data, record, information now becomes one thing: evidence. And evidence can get you into hot water. That is the #1 reason you do not want to keep your records too long. Keeping records too long can actually expose you to fines. Did you know that with the Department of Labor, if you were to keep your payroll records, and your payroll records are to be kept for 6 years after the employee is terminated, if you kept them, let's say, for 8 years, and you had a current employee who was in the same position and felt like they weren't paid fairly, well, if the DOL sees those records that you've kept for 8 years, they will actually go back through that terminated employee's record, calculate all their payroll information, and you will have to pay out that employee, because that's what the Department of Labor has the power of doing. So an employee that, or an ex-employee that doesn't even work for you, you may have to go back and have to pay them money. Nice check for them, not so good for the company. So keep in mind, everything we deal with, once we're working in a corporate capacity, it is evidence. It works for us, and sometimes it can work against us. Do you have any questions about that? Okay. Let's talk about the types of records that exist. You've got financial transactions, personal and identifying, contact and commitments contracts. Let's first talk about that financial transactions record. Your financial transaction record simply is this. This says money. This is the log of where you keep the general ledger. This is where we keep our payroll transactions. All of these are financial records. Time cards can even be a financial record. Depends on how you pay them. Your next record is personal identifying. If you drove here today, everybody's got one. Driver's license, social security numbers. Now we're in this world of cyberspace. Information is flowing literally through the air, past our fingers. Information's out there, and it's more important today than it has been in previous years to keep this information more secure, because the people who want that information will always be 10 steps ahead of the company. Even the Pentagon gets hacked. So, when it comes to personal and identifying information, you want to make sure that you keep that information separate. Only a select number of people get to see it. Contact information. With your contact information, that's information that's going to be anything that says I can be contacted here. Name, number, address, phone number, date of birth. Some of that information is still very sensitive, so you may still need to keep it under lock and key. It just depends on the capacity in which that you're operating in. And of course, the last type of record is your commitment contracts. Time cards can also fall into here because you are required by the Department of Labor for time worked. You do have to pay.